Hey guys, it's Dan of the creator of Elestrals here, bringing you guys a brand new TCG app gameplay showcasing a deck I created called Stormy Seas. It's really epic, so let's take a look. Alright, so I build decks all the time and I'm constantly trying to find ways to not lose in the game, and I came up with this deck idea and I really think it's something solid. This is the deck list in its current state. The gameplay might be slightly different, but generally speaking, it's pretty similar. I've got 3 Aramara, 3 Sorlet, and then Fowlicane. I was spending so much time with Stratamoth, I said, you know what, let me try Fowlicane, which is just a 2 cost, and it basically functions like Yu-Gi-Oh's Harpy Feather Duster, where you can expend 1 to destroy all runes in the field, or expend 2 to destroy just your opponent's runes, and that's really, really powerful. I've got 2 Exaltair to deal burn damage, or direct damage to Spirit deck through Nexus. Peagust is really awesome, obviously powering through runes as well. Lots of rune control in this deck. And then we've got 2 Foamees and a Mistation. You might be like, why do you have Foamees and Mistation? You can essentially let your Foamee go down, float into a Mistation with a Wind Spirit. It has 6 defense, and then you can easily ascend it into something like Fowlicane, or just use it as Nexus fodder on the field. Carry On, I have teched in there. I love this card. I think it can be really good, especially with Nexus. We've got 3 Nectar of the Gods, 3 Tsunamis, 3 Aeolus, 3 Island of Aeolias. We don't see a lot of stadium play right now in the game, but I will tell you, I think it's a very underrated aspect of Elestrals right now, as that +1 makes a huge difference for so many of these Elestrals. Peagust at +1 defense gets to 4. That allows it to actually take on some of the lower threats. Things like Sorlet getting a 6 attack, or Aramara at 6 defense, or even Exaltair after Nexusing can get up to 5 attack very easily. It really turns this deck around and makes it a lot more viable. 3 Ambrosias, because you use a lot of spirits with wind. 3 Altar of the Stars, which I love in this deck. I think it's so good if you can reutilize Peagust's effect multiple times in a turn, and you can also use it with Carry On. When you steal something from your opponent, you can Nexus off of them essentially and get rid of their Elestral in a really cool way. Poison Tipped Arrow is my choice of removal, 2 Gorgons, and a Shield of Achilles. I personally have moved away from Shield. I've been running more PTAs. I think Shield has its place. I think PTA has its place. I personally have been using a lot of PTA, especially in a deck like this where the stats of the Elestrals, both attack and defense, are a little on the higher side. Without further ado, let's jump into the gameplay. All right, so I'm actually playing against Jade Johnny here, and Johnny's gonna mulligan his first turn hand, so it's gonna cost him 2 spirits to mulligan. For those who don't know, when you start the game and you determine who goes first, you can draw your 5-card hand, and you can expend 2 spirits, return your entire hand back to deck, and draw 5 new cards to start the game. Generally, players don't do that. I would say you have to have a pretty bad hand to want to do that, because 2 spirits is pretty significant. But if you're running a combo deck, you can do that. And there's actually no limit to how many times you mulligan. So you could, in theory, mulligan over and over again to get your combo pieces, but you're going to lose 2 spirits every time you do that. So something to note. Johnny's going to load up with a very big back row heavy start, setting down 3 counters or 3 runes, presumably. And then he's going to cast Sprouter with its 5 defense to search out Scythe the Demeter. And I immediately know, okay, he's running Earth. I have to be very mindful of his Earthquakes. Generally, like when you see something like Sprouter and Scythe, you know Earthquake's coming. So I draw into some really cool stuff here. I've got my Foamee, I've got my Aramara. I am gonna use my Aramara now to bait out Earthquake, right? I say to myself, if he has Earthquake, he's gonna wanna use it pretty early on, especially on Aramara. So I'm gonna put that down and save my Foamee because I may need it later. And I've got a nice kind of set up a back row. I've got you know, the shield, and I've got the Gorgons there to protect me in case he tries to pull off some sort of a crazy combo. So I'm gonna kind of play this pretty slow, and that's one of the strategies I'm trying to do. When you play Wind, you are often like playing very, very aggro, right? Like you're really trying to get out in front. But I know that I have to play a little slower with this particular deck, and I actually nail it right away. He does have Earthquake face down, so I trade my Aramara for Earthquake. I was pretty aware that there was going to potentially be an Earthquake, which is, again, why I preserved my Foamee here. And then here comes the Sprouter, and, you know, he can't regenerate at this stage, even if he had Scythe, so I'll just take 1 hit here. There's no reason for me to stop this. If I bounce him back, I'm basically giving him another shield next turn, and at 3 attack, like, I can get over the Sprouter if I really need to, generally speaking. And I draw into Sorlet, which gives me a really good opportunity to do just that if I want to. So I have a choice here. Do I want to play my Sorlet and go offensive, or do I want to play my Foamee and go defensive? I decided to go offensive with Sorlet because I want to start to burn some of those counter runes so I can set up for a bigger play later on once I draw into something like an Aeolus. So he actually does play the Tsunami himself. I could have potentially gotten around that, but that's totally fine. It's going to make my Sorlet have to go to defense position, and now I'm going to probably be forced to utilize some of my counter runes if I want to, you know, keep my Sorlet around. Here comes Rummagem, which means that he's able to search out the next piece of his Earth puzzle here. I think he ends up grabbing Equal Links, able to, you know, search his deck for any 1-cost Earth Elestral and add it to his hand. Rummagem, a very, very good tool in Earth, and you know, generally speaking, the way, you know, the searchers work in Elestrals is they typically search for an Elestral element outside of their element. Rummagem searches for its own element, which makes it really good. Definitely a super good card. And he's gonna go with the Scythe the Demeter onto the Rummagem, and then he's gonna cast Demeter, which means that if he destroys an Elestral in battle, he's gonna regenerate 2 spirits as a result of that. I have no other choice here but to respond. I really don't want to give him 2 spirits back, so I'm gonna play Shield of Achilles and bounce his Rummagem back, which is annoying because I'm basically giving him another search down the road. But I know he wants to play his Equal Links, and I can get rid of this Scythe, so I'm basically trading 2 spirits to get rid of effectively 3 spirits on the board, and what he would do is regenerate 2 there. So I'm like, you know what, this really isn't too bad for me. It's not perfect, but I think I can make it work. And now I have the choice, okay, do I let the Sprouter attack go through? And I'm gonna say no. I really need to make sure I can start to maintain some board positioning here. I have to keep my Sorlet up, so I'm gonna stop the Sprouter in its tracks. And I draw into a PTA, which feels pretty good. So I'm gonna set that face down. And now I'm gonna go on the offensive with my Foamee, and I'm gonna start to, you know, go after him a little bit. I'm also gonna set my Altar face down because I have a way to use it now, which is good. And I'm gonna put my Sorlet into attack. And I'm gonna fire off Sorlet into the Sprouter and hopefully try to pick him off. And he actually is gonna activate his Gorgon's Gaze, which is gonna prevent me from doing just that. But again, he's down to 8 spirits already, and I've burned through so much of his back row. I know his hand is Rummagem Equal Links. He does have Demeter with 1 spirit, and he has that Sprouter, which is, you know, the Sprouter is not really a threat. My Foamee feels really good here, and he is gonna play the Equal Links, and this is gonna be my opportunity to play Poison Tipped Arrow. So Equal Links is gonna activate. We actually have had some pretty significant discussions about how all this is gonna work out, but I do activate the PTA, and I'm going to, you know, ping the Equal Links, but he just nexuses off the Equal Links. I let my Altar go down at that point in time, and the Sprouter's sitting there with 2 spirits. I don't have to pay any extra cost for my PTA or my Poison Tipped Arrow because, you know, he's gonna eliminate himself there. And then he plays the Foliage Forest, and he's gonna get a Sprouter to 5 attack as a result, getting +1 for each of those spirits on it. And then he can actually disenchant his Demeter if he really wants to get over my Sorlet here, which is what he does. So he disenchants his Demeter. He gives himself up to 8 attack at this stage of the game with his Sprouter. The only good news is that he doesn't have that Scythe anymore, right? So he is going to be able to knock out my Sorlet, and there's really nothing I can do about it, and I do have to take 1 spirit in damage here as well. I don't know. I think I may have forgotten to do that, actually. It looks like in hindsight. So my bad, Johnny. But we are going to cast our Aramare into defense, and I think I end up just trying to bluff drops face down, and then I'm going to crash my... Do I end up crashing, or do I pay passive here? I think I end up saying, you know what, let me just turn to defense, and we'll just call it there. But I do think I did miss a spirit there, so my bad. Anyway, he's going to draw his card. I know he's got a Rummagem in hand, and he is going to play that Rummagem. He goes into defense, and now he's able to search out another Earth Elestral from his deck. He can grab anything. Tectoros is a really good one at this point in the game. Obviously, being able to benefit from the massive field presence that he has. He does go after my Foamee. That does allow me to float out to my Mustation. I decide to float out Mustation, and I believe I enchant it with a Water Spirit, because I think, you know what, I actually might need to go on the offensive here. I mentioned in the kind of pre-match here that you can cast out the Mustation with a Wind Spirit, which is really cool, but in this case, I realized, you know what, I really need to start attacking, because I want to get rid of some of the board presence he has. So I'm going to put my Mustation into attack position. I'm also going to put my Aramare into attack position, and I'm going to go for the expend here on Mustation. So I'm going to expend a Water Spirit. That's going to swap my attack and my defense stat with Mustation, and it's going to allow me to have 6 attack, which is going to allow me to get over the Sprouter. So now I have 6 attack. His Sprouter only has 5 attack, and the Rummagem there is sitting for me to pick off. So I'm feeling like, you know what? We actually could do something here. Let me take out this Sprouter and see if he has a response. Does he have a response? He does not. Huge for us. We get rid of the Sprouter, and now my Aramare can attack the Rummagem and hopefully clear that as well. I do still have to deal with the potential Tectoros incoming, but I am going to knock out the Rummagem. Oh, actually, I don't knock out the Rummagem. I'm sorry. The Rummagem has 4 defense because of the Foliage Forest, which was a mistake on my end. I totally messed that up. And now Tectoros hits the field, and I have a choice. Do I want to give myself that buff to get to 6 attack? The Tectoros is at 3, 4, 5, plus Foliage Forest gets it to 6. He disenchants his Demeter, gets his Rummagem buffed up, and I'm like, oh boy, I might actually be in kind of some trouble right now. This Rummagem might be a problem, and I have to figure out exactly what I'm going to do. So his Rummagem is buffed up. He's able to take me out. but I say, you know what? I have to make this play. I'm actually going to Altar of Stars from my Arrowmare onto my Mustache to change the position of Tectorus. This is a very unique instance in Elestrals where based on when I use my Altar of Stars, whether I do it in the damage step or the battle step, if I'm not mistaken, or the attack declaration step versus the damage step, I actually type it out there. So I checked with the judge just to make sure, but in the battle step, then it actually hits me directly. So I take 1 spirit damage directly, and I preserve him attacking me in any other way. I draw into Aeolus, which feels really good. I'm like, this is exactly what I needed. I don't have a ton of spirits left, but I did draw into it. So now I have the opportunity to, essentially fill it up with 2 spirits, disenchant that, and grab any wind Elestral from my deck that I want. I have a ton of different options. I end up grabbing Exaltair here, which works out really well. Exaltair has the opportunity to Nexus, and I have a pretty good, situation here where I can simply activate Exaltair's effect. I can Nexus a spirit over. That's going to get Exaltair, I'm going to hit for 2 direct damage, and then Exaltair is actually able to hit the Rummagem, and we're going to crash into each other. But he has to take 1 damage as a result of that, and then that's going to get him to 0, and then I can actually expend the 1 water to buff Mustache's stats, allowing me to hit over the Tectorus, and I can clear his field here. I technically, I have to look back at the gameplay, but I technically think I would have 0 spirits at this point, because I did miss 1 earlier. But nonetheless, we're having fun and just kind of experimenting and trying different things out. But he does take that one point of damage here. That's going to get him to 0 spirits. I clear his field, and now he has no future plays. The only thing he could do at this stage of the game is he would need to draw an Ambrosia and cast it with the Spirit on Foloi Forest. You can use Invoke and counters with Foloi. Ambrosia would be the only thing he could potentially draw as his out. He doesn't draw into it. He has a Drataya. He makes a joke about Ambrosia, but he has a Drataya, but no Ambrosia. So we're able to walk away with a W there, and we take a 1-0 win. But I do think it was a 0-0 win ultimately. Super close game with Johnny, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's a really fun deck that I've been working with, and I think it's actually got a chance to do something pretty decent right now. I think it's one of the best applications for wind right now in the game, and I'm very stoked about it. If you enjoyed, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video for Elestrals. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.